Chair, thank you, co-chair and the co-panelist and delegates. I'm just before the lunch session. Many things are already set, and we know that the need of the decarbonization, the climate change, the global warming, these issues are being discussed for a long time, and many goals are set, reset, and again we start working on those things. From the environmental perspective or from the field of air pollution, since it is under the banner of Indian Association of Air Pollution Control, I think I recall that around 30 years back when I was just appearing for the interview in NEERI, one of the expert member asked me, is CO2 is a pollutant? I think still the answer is not there, but it looks like a villain, but at the same time, it is the main source or resource. And that is why we are targeting to capture this and utilize it. Coming to the point now, since I was to be the speaker before the lunch, I am putting my points very straightforward. Climate change issues should be dealt with air pollution problems in the country. This is the point of suggestion or the point of discussion, you can say. The second point is GHG parameters, especially CO2, CH4, may be included in industrial emission norms depending upon the specific energy sector. We have been traditionally focusing on PM10 or particulate matter, SO2, NOx in the industrial emissions. But the focus, I think, is very less on the carbon dioxide or methane depending upon the specific sector. The third point is carbon dioxide or methane may be included in ambient air quality standards as well. What we are ultimately going to achieve and how much, I think there is a need for a relook on that also, that the focus, is it only the certain criteria parameters or now looking at the wider implications of the climate change? Should that also be a part of the larger network of monitoring? Need to adopt holistic regional development approach to develop carbon neutral regions, district by district, state by state, and probably EIA process also needs to be aligned with it. Assess effectiveness of implemented carbon dioxide emission reduction measures, various policies and practices in terms of improvement in CO2 in ambient air. What needs to be controlled and how much? What is the threat? We all know that what are the impacts of the climate change and what will happen if a global temperature increases by 1 degree or 2 degrees. Many of the countries, coastal countries, will get submerged, including coastal region of the India will have a larger threat and the associated problem. Reasons, population, as the Honorable Minister has also pointed out, how the population has grown over the 200 years or so. From 1 billion to 2 billion, it took 126 years, 2 to 3 billion, 33 years, and now it is only 13 to 14 years, adding 1 more billion population in the world. And what will be the carbon dioxide levels in the coming time? I think this is the area where we need to focus. And what are the levels? The current levels are something about 420 ppm. This is the global average. And what is the action points? These are all integrated. Climate change, what are the various sources? The fuel use that we have been discussing, whether it is coal, oil, any kind of fuel. By various sectors, individuals, the action point again becomes the individual industry sector, whether it is oil sector, thermal power sector, cement, steel, or the individual industry, individual organization, regions, scale, and individual also. We are also carbon dioxide emitters, but these little plants take care of us. We don't bother about it. But this is also getting added to the atmosphere. So as the population grows, that carbon dioxide will further grow into that. So these targets are already set by the government, keeping the target of 2070, but there are some intermediate targets also that is called as Mission 2030. And these are the GHG emissions at present in terms of carbon dioxide equivalent. Energy, the largest sector, agriculture, manufacturing and construction, transportation, industrial processes, and others. You can see that the energy is the largest sector, and these are the contribution of the different fossil fuels used. These are the major sectors who consume huge amount of fuels, and also as a result they emit carbon dioxide emissions. This is the location of thermal power plant in the country. Now the point I am trying to correlate here is the industrial sector wise, while the technological advancements or development will take place in a time to come, there are carbon dioxide emissions are being discharged into the atmosphere, but what is the resultant carbon dioxide levels? What is the controlling point, or what is the point that we need to measure in the ambient air? Is it how much it is getting translated, and what is the level of that we should maintain this level in this area? We measured these levels in Delhi, found that something in the month of March, the levels were something about 700, 800 ppm. Is it okay? Or is it giving some signal? I think that kind of approach, I think somehow it is not there in the thought process. This is what I thought it should be there. As far as the industries are concerned, each process has to be optimized again with respect to their resources consumption and the waste generation. The things cannot be taken in isolation, that we are focusing only one aspect. It has to be the total, sum total of all. I'll just give you an example of power sector, just very brief example. How much resources are consumed and how much waste is generated, and how we can convert or how we can save some of the things are also. This is an example. For production of 1000 megawatt power, how much fuel is required, how much water is required, and nearly 30,000 tons per day of carbon dioxide is emitted. And at the same time, SO2 and NO2 of 680. As compared to CO2, this is much less, but this has larger implication in terms of impacts. That is why we are more focused on the SO2 and NO2, and at the end, the ash, which is collected at the bottom and also becomes a fly ash. So these become parameters becomes a more focus, and carbon dioxide, despite being in a huge quantity, that gets neglected. But how much, like the concentrations of SO2 and NO2 are being monitored, how much this contributes to the ambient levels? Can we have some estimate also on that, some measurement also in that, in different regions where the power plants are there? This becomes very important parameter now, that carbon dioxide monitoring should also be done in that area where the power plant are there, like SO2 and NO2. This is also becomes a important parameter. The another, while the improvements are done on the technology side, there is important aspect. At this stage, the country's transmission and distribution losses are more than 20%. Earlier, I think some 10 years back, it was appearing to be more than 30%, may vary from industry to industry. In some cases, it is up to 50% also. And the global average is less than 10%. And the few countries like Japan and Germany have 4%. So can, again, there be a focus on how this T&D losses can be minimized? This has direct bearing on the how much resources can be conserved, how much carbon dioxide can be saved, or how much other pollutants can be. And this kind of analysis has to be done for each industry, whosoever is using the fuel, whosoever is using the energy for their purpose. Now coming back to coming to the carbon neutrality of the region. As I said, that we are taking the parameter is one of the parameters now, along with the air quality parameters. And these are the various activities which are taking place in any region, whether it is a state, a region, city, or village. This kind of activities are taking place everywhere. A lot of atmospheric actions, reactions are taking place, and this is what is the sum total of the carbon dioxide emissions from this, and how much that gets converted into the carbon dioxide levels. So what is my controlling point? Again, and how I can achieve the carbon neutrality here. If I take an example of NCR, you can see the total area of NCR is something about 58,000 square kilometer with a population of 4.6 crore and population density of something about 790 persons per square kilometer. And many of the countries which we have been recently seen in the EPI index also, that many of the countries, maybe 20, 30, 40 countries will not have even that much of the population what the NCR is having at this point of time. And it has all types of major industries, major activities where the fuel is used in a large quantity, and also they become a part of the air pollution, besides the problem of stubble burning that we face every year. So now, again, one more thought process that comes, that can the biomass, that the stubble which is used, which is a problem, again, that problem is a solution, is a resource, and how optimally that can be utilized. I think Gadkari ji has given us various views on that, and plants are running successfully on conversion of stubble to the bio-CNG. Again, just biomass to boiler, this is a slogan. Now the Commission on Air Quality Management has made it mandatory that from the next year onwards, only 2 types of fuels will be permitted in this NCR region. One is the PNG, and second will be the biomass. This is the opportunity, and this is the need for this region. Can the entire biomass generated in the region and the nearby states be converted as a fuel? It needs the entire ecosystem to be developed. And the focus is on the farmer. The focus is on the kitchen of the farmer, where the ladies still use biomass, and they are most affected, the children's most affected in the rural areas, and these are the neglected ones. Can they be supplied LPG? Or they will not get the free LPG. Now they will replace it by the biomass that is generated in their area, in the village, and purchase the LPG. But this needs to be translated in real terms, having so many other groups working together on the aspect. Like the Gadkari ji was mentioning, वायु प्रदूषण कम कर रहा है भारत की औसत उम्र. He was mentioning that day before yesterday, this has come into the newspaper, in fact yesterday only. And this is the most affected region, NCR. And just see how it affects in terms of air pollution. Open burning versus burning in controlled combustion. As a controlled combustion, now that is, if it is burned in the boiler, it becomes a controlled combustion. How much improvement or how much less emission it gives you, that is it becomes almost negligible as compared to the open burning. So choice is with the policy planners. I mean, everyone has to contribute towards that. So that has to come into a kind of mission mode, that how this can be integrated for a region. We have to draw some, first as an example, prototype has to be developed for a region. Otherwise the things get diluted and it will not done. I was talking to some of the village person, they said, अगर एक जगह डिस्ट्रिक्ट में या एक जगह पर ये हो गया, बाकी अपने आप कर लेंगे वो. Because everybody wants money. And this biomass is not free. The person has to buy the biomass from the farmers. So it will not be free. So it is a win-win situation for everyone. And industry need it. The market is already created. So it is a need for the industry, need of the government also to control the air pollution problem, need of the household also to ensure that the biomass is not used as a cooking fuel in the rural areas because of the health problems. So everybody is benefited from that exercise, whole exercise. And a holistic approach, like I said, if I take the concept of the carrying capacity, what are the different activities, how to convert into the reality, that becomes very important. I think some more efforts are required in accounting, in defining what actually we want to achieve. And this needs to be done on the district by district. Again, I say we have to define the boundary. एक साथ सब जगह पर शुरू कर देंगे तो I think nothing will happen. This kind of approach, some models have to be created that once the model is demonstrated in one district, the rest will follow automatically. So it needs integration and creation of robust ecosystem for regional sustainability, and various groups are required to ensure that this happens. For inspection, monitoring, analysis, emission load assessment, including GHG emissions, meteorological aspects, modeling, control, coordination, evaluation, implementation, effectiveness monitoring, and continual improvement. How it is taking place over the years. It is not one-time activity. So the entire market is to be developed for that, and this is what is needed at this point of time. Every group becomes a kind of team. What an individual can do, I'm just taking, madam, couple of minutes, just two minutes or more. What I did it about 10 years back, I tried to estimate my own carbon dioxide emissions. Two major activities. One is the fuel consumption, that is energy, electricity consumption in the house, and the second is the transportation. And whatever means I'm using, whether I'm going for the official purpose or the personal purpose, I'm accounting that. I did for the whole year. I found that I had two-wheeler, four-wheeler, what is the total usage in the 2 years? On one time, the two-wheeler usage was more. The second time it was the less. But the four-wheeler usage, accordingly, you can see the total vehicle use, the equivalent carbon dioxide emission was almost equal in those 2 years, in 2009 and 2011. And electricity was 4.75 and 4.81, nearly same. This is how somewhere the sustainability kind of thing is emerging from an individual effort. So once you start monitoring, you become cautious. Yes, it should not exceed. I have to maintain it. I have to ensure that my overall, these are the basic parameters which we get every month and we can account it. And in terms of CO2 equivalent, electricity consumption becomes 47% of the total carbon emissions, and the fuel consumption becomes 43%, I found. Whether it is petrol, diesel, or flights, all inclusive, it becomes 43 on the transportation, and only 6% on the waste, what is the domestic waste generated, and 4% on the cooking, that is LPG.
Can you please conclude now?
Yeah.
We need to have some question answers.
So a lot of things can be done on an individual basis also, and these are some points of discussion again which I have started with, and the same point I'm repeating here so that we have just recall or refresh our memory that what I wanted to communicate earlier. With this, I thank you very much for patient hearing, I think, and a lot of carbon is waiting for us now to be consumed. Thank you very much.